national member organization that is responsible for all the structure within the country, and a few member organizations, they consist of several local chapters, so each local chapter represents their university. This is our structure, so a lot of us are here today. We have our members from the executive committee, and other officials, regional representatives, as well as the chairs from our committees and networks, and of course our lovely secretariats and trust, which some of them are also here with us. Cool. But now the important stuff, like basically what do we do? So IVSA has an exchange program that consists basically on individual exchange and group exchange. The individual exchange is a very big opportunity for you to develop yourself. You have the opportunity to go to a new country or a new university and focus on the educational part and the practical part of the area that you have interest in. And of course, the group exchange is more on a cultural level, having the opportunity to learn a little bit more about how veterinary medicine is practiced in the country that you are attending. And it's done in group, which makes it also very cooler for social activities and tourism. We also have our committees and networks, which you guys are all familiar with. We're always posting about them in our social media. They're always posting a lot of educational content. Our development fund, which is a fund focused on supporting with initiatives and opportunities for members from countries, from developing countries. Our Congress and Symposium, so in case you don't know, this is the Congress. The Symposium happens always in January or December. As well, IVSA is very focused on collaborations and partnerships. So Purina Institute was here. They are one of the companies we collaborate, as well as a lot of professional veterinary associations such as WSAVA, WVA, WOA, and many others that we will be bringing in a moment. Also, our units around the world, they host locals and national events, which is basically up to you guys to organize. You have the structure, and we provide also support, and as well publications and reports that we make. So, a little bit more about the exchange program. As I said, group exchanges is basically where it consists of two groups. So we have two different MOs. Each MO has a group of individuals that are interested in doing this exchange, and basically you organize so that one group visits the other country, and then the other way around, so that both of you get the opportunity to see how, again, veterinary medicine is practiced there, a little bit about their culture, and also get some learning experience and making new friends. It's also very fun. Then on our standing committees and network, we currently have 5 standing committees. Our standing committee on career attributes, on One Health, wellness, animal welfare, and veterinary education, and we have 3 networks: the Equine Network, Wild and Exotic Animals Network, and the Alumni Network. Cool. Let's start with SCOVI, our Committee on Veterinary Education. I will not actually read this because, well, it's a lot. And by the way, all these informations are available in our website because it's literally, I would take like half an hour to talk about this. But if you are interested, IVSA.org. Yeah. And then a little bit more about the development fund. So our development fund, as I said, they are focused on initiatives and projects for countries, developing countries. So usually countries that are not as privileged as, for example, the country we are right now. And among the initiatives they do is the scholarship grant, which basically is a scholarship so that those members have the opportunity to do an exchange or an internship or even in somewhere else. And it's usually, if I'm not mistaken, we host these 1,000 euros for grants that we have at the moment, which we are going to announce the awards soon, just select them. We also have the IVC Evidencia MO Fund that is a partnership with IVC Evidencia, that is a very famous brand of veterinary hospitals here in Europe. in which we are able to support this and those for projects that they are hosting, or so we basically offer them financial support for the projects so that they're able to utilize this money usually to spamming campaigns, sometimes the part of veterinary education, so on conscientization of the population. We have the Be Kind Award. Be Kind Award is an initiative from the Development Fund also, in which MOs can offer themselves to support the membership fee from lower income countries, so that even though our fees they are very low, depending on the country, they still face a lot of struggles into paying their fee. And then the whole idea of this project is, even though for some it's very low, for others it's very high, so then who can support the most that can, they support the others that have difficulties in paying those fees. We also have the reduced fee spots that happen every Congress and Symposium, which basically they pay half of the fee for the need to attend the symposium, and also they don't pay the central fund taxes. We have the merchandise together with the live auctions. They are one of the main sources of income of the development fund, so all the profit generating from those activities, they go to the fund so that they support these initiatives such as the scholarship grant, the reduced fee spots, and also the membership fee fund, which is a complementary project with the Be Kind Award. So the Be Kind Award gives the opportunity for some MOs to sponsor others, and the membership fee fund is made by us, so the development fund support membership fee from those countries. Oh, did not know that. Oh, yeah, and also we have the auctions that I did not mention very much. So, in case you've never been to a live event of IVSA, you will have the opportunity to experience the live and silent auction. So, basically, the silent auction, as I said, is silent. So, we're gonna just display all of our products here that you guys donated, and you can bet how much you want to pay for it. And if the value you put is the highest, congratulations, you are the owner of it. And the live auction, well, is very similar to the silent one, with the exception that we have some very cool people presenting for us the items, and you have the opportunity to compete. A positive competition. Just placing your bet on the product you want to take, and then again, the highest bet take the product. Very cool. By the way, this is Daniel, our president. Yeah. Okay, and then Congress, as I said, is this event. The activities that we have, very standard, so we have the opening ceremony that happened this morning. Then we have the General Assembly, which we just started. We will have several lectures throughout the whole 10 days that we are standing here. Some workshops organized by the OC and also by the committees that we have here. The international stands, if I'm not mistaken, is happening on day 6 or 7, in which you will have the opportunity to display the benefits and the activities that your MO is hosting to the other members that are here. And cultural evening that is happening tonight. Yes. Okay, so here we are right now at, not sure why they keep summer, since it's winter back home. And the next event that we are hosting is the symposium in Indonesia. Okay, then a little bit more about our collaborations and partnerships that we do. So, in case you don't know, Purina, that was just here, they are our diamond sponsor. We also have the sponsorship of Purina brand, or Purina Pro Plan, which is the main division of Purina. Purina Institute is just a small branch of them, focused on education. We also have SIVA, in which you'll be hearing a lot, and they're gonna even come here today to announce a new project for you. We have also all of those. So a few of them are sponsors, a few of them are partners. And OIE changed their logo and name, by the way, now it's WOA. Yeah. Cool. And then a little bit about public notification. You can check that all in our social media. We have basically all of them. We are very modern people. And also in our website is also an opportunity. We just launched a new version of it. Now we have a team of tech people that actually understand about it to be taking care of our website, which is great for us. And we do have a Twitter. Yeah. So this is actually something very, very new because ISU actually just doesn't exist anymore. So we are now at the moment, even though it's new, we do not have the time to update because it's quite new. We are searching for a new place to host our journal. Yeah, this is our website I was talking about. Please check, it's very nice. Then also we have the teams of our regional teams accounts, so you can feel free to check it. Usually there are more closer opportunities for you. Our DB account. And yeah, even though you're already a member, of course, throughout this whole event, we will be bothering you all so that you have the opportunity to apply, for maybe for a position on a global level, on a regional level, maybe to join a team. You're always welcome, and we are always trying to convince you to join us. So please do that, please. And that was it regarding this presentation. And I want to know if you guys have any questions regarding IVSA. Okay, when people don't have questions, means that you presented very well. So, with that being said, I believe we can move to the second topic regarding Robert's Rules of Order, in which I will be presenting to you guys basically the procedures in which this code GUA will be based on, and I will kindly ask you to follow it. So, after we have 2 or 3 more topics to cover, then we're going to call our buddies, and they will also be giving you a little bit better explanations about it, and also answer any questions that you guys may have. So, basically in this presentation, I will be talking to you as how MOs vote, the different methods that IVSA has to cast a vote, and Robert's Rules of Order. That's very cool. So, as a standard, the way we do is that every MO, so now when I say MO, I'm saying on a national level. If you're a representative from a local chapter, that's not an MO. So each MO is the equivalent of a country. They have 2 votes. And you decide what to do with these 2 votes. Okay? But the idea is that if your MO has local chapters, the votes represent the opinion of each of the general opinion of the local chapters. In case your MO doesn't, well, then it's just a DMO. It doesn't have local chapters, sorry. Okay? So, how can you use these votes? You can vote if you are on a discussion, you can vote in favor, you can vote against, or you can abstain from voting. Okay, super important. When you abstain to vote, it literally means that you don't want to vote. And you can do the combinations the way you want. So you can have 2 votes in favor, 2 votes against, 1 vote in favor, 1 vote against, because exactly the idea is that these votes represent the opinion of the amount of local chapters that you have. So sometimes you don't reach a concept. Half of them are in favor, half of them are against. So you should go 1 vote in favor, 1 vote against. Okay? Then, when we go to the elections, in which we are going to have here, you don't have the option to vote against, because we don't vote against people, we are very nice. So, or you vote in favor of somebody, or you abstain from voting to somebody, okay? Also, voting for people, you have 2 votes, so you can vote twice on the same person, or you can vote each time on one. So, if you have, you can vote one vote into one candidate, the other vote into another one. We're going to have closer to the elections also a better presentation to talk about voting for the elections with the actual system that we use, so don't worry about this. So basically, every motion that we have, or mini motion, when I say motion, mean topic of discussion, the idea is that we discuss, you guys discuss this internally, and then we vote on it, and then every local chapter that you have a equal saying, because they're equally important. Okay? So, to facilitate our lives, it's better that always the same person votes, because then we don't have this issue of thinking that just facilitate for us. We assimilate one person with the MO. And you guys, if you go inside the delegates drive, there is a PDF there, right in the beginning called GA cards, in which you will see the cards that you use to vote. Basically the idea, because we don't want to be printing papers for all of you, and also because we give the papers in the first GA and in the second nobody has them anymore, you're just going to use your phone, because nobody loses their phone. So if you have, if you go check this PDF file, you have a page totally green, which means that you have 2 votes in favor. You have a page totally red. We have a page that is cut in half, so half white, half red, half white, half green, totally white, and green and red. Those are all the options that you have regarding voting on a discussion or voting on a motion. So when requested, basically the idea is that you pick your phone, choose the option that you want, and just raise it to us like this. Simple like that. Oh, okay. So red means against, so it's 1 favor, 1 against. Sorry guys. Yeah, it's also very poorly to read it. I'm sorry. I was changing this light yesterday. Okay, and then how is it gonna work? So somebody makes a suggestion, and then the chair, which is the person that will be speaking here. So far at the moment it's me, but soon it won't. It will be somebody that actually knows what they're doing, so don't worry guys. So then the chair will ask if there is any objection. So if somebody is against what is being proposed. If nobody says a thing, we're just going to assume that everybody agrees with the idea that anyone suggested. And if you have something to say, or if you're against, or if you think it's an incomplete suggestion and want to add more things, you just raise your hand and say, oh, I object. And then you will have the opportunity also to state why, and we will engage in a discussion for this. After the discussion is end, we can have a vote. Okay? It's super important. If no hands are raised anymore in a discussion, the chair will bring a vote. This not necessarily means that you know what you're going to vote for. So if you don't know, you just raise your hand and say, hey, can I have more time to think on my vote? And then we're going to give it to you. You need to vote. So, how can you vote? The first option is if the chair asks if anybody disagree or has any objections, and everybody stays in silence, means that everybody agrees, so we don't actually vote on anything. If anyone has an objection and we discuss on this matter, or during the discussion we feel that it's very divided the opinions, we can call for a card raising vote, which means that you're going to pick your phone, choose the colors, and then just display it to us. The idea is to save ourselves some time, so we're just going to look at the phones and see if all the phones are green. We don't need to have another vote, we know that everybody is in favor. But if we see many different colors, we're going to have to call for a proper voting, that is called a roll call vote. So basically our Secretary General James will call your MO, you're going to stand up and say your opinion, like, oh, IVSA example, I have 2 votes in favor, 2 votes against, and then you just state your vote, we're going to count the votes, and then at the end, the option that wins. In case you don't raise your phone, we're just going to assume that you are abstaining from voting. But please raise it. It facilitates our life very much. Okay? So basically, when we are discussing, the chair said, anybody objects to this suggestion that any one of you can propose? Silence means that you agree. If you say something, it means that you disagree. And then, when we're going for the card raising vote, green means in favor, red means against, don't raise means that the abstention. I don't know what happened here. But we really prefer that you raise your cards, your white cards. And then, in case there's a lot of division, when you raise your phones, we're just gonna call your MO. You stand up, say your name, say your MO, and say how you're gonna vote. 2 in favor, 2 against, 1 against, 1 in favor, up to you. Also, you have the option to not stand up and vote, but please don't do that. Make our life easier. Any questions regarding voting? Okay, yes, nailed this. Yeah. So now Robert's rules. Robert's rules is something that goes together with the voting part, and usually people are very afraid of them because they don't understand, which is very complicated. But we want to make it chiller. So we're going to bring a few topics here that are a little bit different from the previous GA in case you attended. In case not, well, lucky you. You just learned a new way. So basically, Robert's rules, they set how we conduct a meeting. So this is not something we invented. It's a well-known document. It is based exactly for standardized meeting protocols. In a way, they have an order, they are official, and literally every General Assembly you go, they use Robert's Rules of Order. In IVSA, we use this, and as long as they don't conflict with our Constitution and bylaws. So, for example, we have a few changes that we put in our bylaws that are different from Robert's Rules. So basically, if it's on the bylaws, what Robert's Rules says, it doesn't count. But that's not something you need to worry about, and just explain. Okay, super important. We don't have these rules because we don't want you guys to speak. We just have these rules to make this meeting more efficient and coordinated. Please don't be afraid to raise your hand. So at any point, even if you don't know Robert's rules, Robert's a very complicated guy, just raise your hand and ask the person that will be here speaking. He or she will explain everything you need to do, so you will have the opportunity to learn, and everyone that is on the room also by listening and checking you by example will also have the opportunity to learn. And yeah, so basically we want you to follow it and follow the instructions of the chair in case you are not sure how to proceed. So the first thing we have is motions. Motion is basically you bring something for the discussion. Only delegates can propose motion, which in this case is basically everyone here, with the exception of a few members of the OC, which are not delegates. And the chair, which is the person that is speaking, cannot move a motion, cannot suggest, cannot propose something for the discussion. She can only suggest something, and then you guys propose, which is called entertain a motion. You will check this soon. So, how is this step-by-step if you want to propose something for the discussion? First of all, there will be somebody here speaking, talking about a bylaw or about a project that we have, and then you're going to raise your hand. You're going to wait with your hand raised until the chair picks the microphone and calls you by the name, or if he or she doesn't know your name, just call you. And then what you're going to do, you're just going to raise it up, because that facilitates for us to see who is speaking, say your name, and say your MO. So we have this very cool example, because I do like football. Super important, when I say MO, is national MO. If you're from local chapter, you're just going to say the national MO name. And then, when you say that, then after saying your name, say your MO, you're going to explain what you want to suggest to us. Usually, facilitate for us if you say, I move that, but also we always have this variation, so I want to move, I propose, I would like to, can I do that? And you just say like this. This means that you are proposing a change. After you're saying this, what you're proposing For us to discuss, it needs to be considered relevant, meaning that someone else needs to think this is something important to be discussed, sorry. And that's what the second enters about. So usually you say something, somebody needs to say second. When somebody says second, it basically means what this person said is very important and I believe should be discussed. Very, I don't know how to say that, compressed, yeah. Okay? Usually this is not an issue, it's a very nice part of our GA, everybody loves to shout second. Yes. Then after the second, we're just gonna open for discussion. So basically what you propose is now open that anybody can say their opinions. If they think it's a good idea, if they think it's a bad idea, if they think it needs to be complemented with someone else, something else, or take something out, okay? As a standard, when we open the discussion, we always gonna give the person that suggested the change the first priority to speak. So he or she has the opportunity to actually defend why they're proposing this. So you propose something, now you have the opportunity to justify why. Also, because we are fair here, nobody speaks twice, so after you raise your hand and speak, if you want to speak again, you can of course raise your hand, but everyone else that didn't speak will have priority over you. So, you're too close to me. Yeah. And then we're gonna go here, and every time somebody raises their hand, they're just gonna have the right to speak, and we're gonna continue until there are no hands. When we don't have any more hands, then the chair will go back to what I just explained. If we think that everybody's on agreement, we're just gonna pass. If there were topics in favor, topic against, we're just gonna call for a card raising vote, and if in the card raising vote we see many different colors, we're just gonna do a roll call vote. And then the result is the result. So now an example. Yes, I didn't change from Slovenia because I did not have time. So I just call my friend and he raises his hand. That's always the first step. Then we go to the second step. In this case, he's standing up, which is also important, facilitate, and everybody gets the opportunity to know you. So we say his name and his MO. After this, he will just explain his topic, what he wants to bring, what he wants to change. So usually we start with I move that, and then you explain. So in this example, he wants to move or propose a change, and I say that the elections now will be decided by a football match. Very nice idea. But again, it's not up to me to decide if it's a nice idea or not. Someone else in the GA must agree with this, and they agree by saying second. So if someone says second, it means this is relevant. Let's discuss. And then anyone can raise their hand and discuss this topic, just with an important reminder that the person, in this case Neymar, will have priority to speak first because they propose a change. Now he can justify on why. Okay? So, some stuff that are important. When you raise your hand in a discussion, you need to discuss the motion. You cannot raise your hand to talk bad things about the person or personal attacks. It's always about the topic in the discussion. Okay? Because we have limited time, we don't want to spend 20 hours here. Everybody will have a limit of 2 minutes to speak, and after this meeting, we will kindly and politely ask you, hey, I'm sorry, you spoke too much, wrap it up. Okay? Also, to avoid having this personal feeling, we don't want you to use names. So, usually we won't ask you to speak with the chair. In this case, it's me, but as I said, I will be changing soon. And we don't want you to use names to the chair as well, so you, when talking to the chair, use chair terms as the chair, Miss Chair, Madam Chair, Mademoiselle Chair. All of those are options that you can use, if it's a she, of course. And when we vote on a motion, we make a decision, this is final. So, if the GA already voted and the result is yes, we think the elections should be decided on a football match, nobody can raise their hand and propose something different, because the GA already decided. Okay. Now it gets a little tricky. So we have, right now we're discussing when you propose a change or in a discussion that we are having that is called an emotion. But we have as well our secondary emotions, which is basically a change in a change. So in our example, Neymar proposed that the elections are decided in a football match. A secondary motion would be a change in this topic that we are discussing. So the first one is not actually a change, but it's regarding this topic itself, that is point of privilege. So let's say that Neymar said this very fast and you couldn't get it. So you can raise your hand and ask him to speak again slower. That's possible. Or if he did that the opposite of louder, you can ask him, can you speak louder please? This sort of stuff, this is considered point of privilege. Also, it can happen that you are not very familiar with football. It's possible, totally understandable. So then we have the point of information, which basically you raise your hand and you ask, like, I'm sorry, what exactly is football? How can we decide this? And then we would have an explanation, or like, the discussion is already too long and you lost a little bit of what is being discussed. So you can ask to summarize. So basically, give a brief explanation of everything that is happening now. Also, if you go to the PDF that we sent, especially about point of privilege, there are some cards, the yellow, the blue, and the orange. The idea of these cards is that you don't have to actually interrupt the conversation that the person is having, the speech that the person is giving, to say, hey, can you speak louder? You just raise the card with the color yellow, the blue, or the orange. I know that a lot of people are taking photos of this, but if you open the PDF, there's also like a summary there, and you just click, and it puts you on the page, so don't worry. Yes, and we will have also here, for you that are speaking, you will have like a hint, so if you see a yellow card, you can read and remember what it means. Besides, we also have the parliamentary inquiry, that is basically when we are lost, or we think that what does the bylaw say? What does Robert Rules say? And we are not sure. So basically we call for a parliamentary inquiry. And then we're going to call a parliamentarian. It's a person that will be elected soon by the GA. And this person is ahead of reading the bylaws, reading the Constitution and Robert's Rules, and tell us what is the exact procedure that we're going to do. So for example, if we're proposing something that is against the Constitution of IVSA, the parliamentary inquiry can be requested. The parliamentarian will open the Constitution, check it, and explain to us why this is against the Constitution and where is it stated that it's against the Constitution. So basically, it's a person that is our fiscal, in case we're doing something very wrong. And then finally, we have point of order. I personally hate this secondary motion, but again, it exists. So basically, point of order is a motion that you can state at any point without raising your hand, and it's supposed to be done if the rules are not being followed. However, they are very intimidating. Like, there's 120 people here, and then you ask for somebody to stand and speak in front of 120 people, and they might be very shy. And when you get shy, you get nervous. If you are shy, you get nervous. And then having somebody shouting that you are doing something wrong at your face is not something very nice. So we will strongly ask you to not use point of order. And if something wrong is happening, the chair, the person that is here, will kindly correct later or at the moment, but in a nice way, so that the person doesn't get it wrong. So please let's avoid use point of order. Okay, and then we have the amend. As I said, Neymar is proposing that the elections are decided in a football match. But you don't think that, oh, but only football. In my country, we don't play football, we just play golf. So then you can amend, that is basically add something into the suggestion, and then you raise your hand, state your amendment, and I move to amend, so basically I want to add that the elections are decided in a football match or in a basketball match. So now you added a part of this to the discussion. When you do this, we start discussing what you just added. So if people think that adding basketball is relevant or not to the topic. Okay? Besides this, there's also something we call friendly amendment, that is basically change something into the discussion, but related to grammar. So it's just like, oh, it's not don't, it's doesn't, this sort of stuff. Usually, if nobody disagrees, because it's just something that was wrong and I was right, we don't need to cast a vote on it, but if people disagree with the grammar change, then we need to vote. I am very sorry, I'm not sure with these squares that are showing up. Besides this, we have these last two motions options. Those are a little bit more complicated than the others, and you don't need to be very worried about this because anytime that they're going to be used, we're going to be helping. There will be a lot of support so that we do this the right way. So the first one is withdraw. This basically you say, yeah, I don't think it's relevant what I brought, or I actually regret bringing it up, doesn't matter. So you want to take it out from the discussion. So if Neymar thinks, yeah, why did I say that? Democracy is way better. So then he just can withdraw from the discussion. He can raise his hand and propose to withdraw. The only person that can actually do this is the person that brings the motion to the table. And since it's already being discussed, it needs to be voted. So we're going to be vote on withdrawing this motion. And finally, if you think that we are going to circles and the discussion is not being beneficial anymore and you think we just need to cast a vote and move on with our lives, you can just say, I move the previous question. This means that, let's wrap it up, have a vote and continue with the GA. Again, it's not something we normally use, and usually when we start going to these circles, the officials, the chair, they will be offering you support so that we can provide, you can mention this, go and follow the exact topics on the move the previous questions motion without an issue. To do that, we also need 2/3 of the votes, so 66%. So basically about everything that I spoke for the past quite a while. Every mo has 2 votes. You can do these votes the way you want. Every mo and any delegate that are here has the right to speak. So any of you can raise your hand, give your opinion, bring suggestions, suggest changes. If you abstain, it doesn't mean no, it just means that you don't want to vote. And there are different types of voting, as I said, the card and the roll call vote. Okay? If you want more information, there is also in your email and in the drive the GA booklet that also contains all this information that I've been talking about, a little bit more explained with a little bit more details in a very easy to understand language. So it's still in English, but just the way that it's written. So you can check it there at any point during the GA. We actually encourage you to do that. This will make the GA go way smoother and way nicer for everyone. Okay. So, now we have an example. As we said, the chair actually cannot move a motion. He can just suggest that you guys move the motion for him. So basically, and we do that by saying entertain. So basically I say, oh, I'm the chair. The chair now entertains a motion that this GA will go for a break. Again, this is an example. We're not going for a break. Okay? And then, since I cannot bring a motion, I will need somebody to raise their hand, say their name, their mo, and then say, I so move. That would mean, basically, okay, that's a good motion that the chair is suggesting. I will take it for me and take the credits for it. And then we start discussing. Okay? So far, so easy? Good. So, a real example now. This one, it will not be move from me. But this is usually very standard. By definition, non-delegates cannot speak at the GA, but we are nice. We want them to speak. The OC is doing a great job, and they should have the right to speak to us, with us. Sorry. So I would like somebody to volunteer for making this motion for us, of granting observers that are here the right to speak. And now is the time that somebody very nice, raise your hand, and don't let me embarrass myself here. Yes!
Timo van Lille, Timo van Lille, IVSA Belgium, I so move.
No.
Oh,
it was very good, it was very good, it was very good. And that was actually my fault because I gave a terrible example in the previous one. So, the idea is, I want you to bring this motion. Yeah. So, I want you to move this motion.
Okay, Timo van Lille, IVSA Belgium. I move a motion to grant the purpose of this session of the General Assembly the right to speak.
Yes. Yes, perfect, perfect. Yeah, everybody understood what happened here? Yes. Okay, so now we are discussing about granting observers the right to speak at the General Assembly. Do we have any objections on granting them this right? Yes. Okay, as you can see, nobody disagreeing with me. So we can say that this motion passes, and now the observers have the right to speak at the General Assembly. Congratulations, organizing committee. Yes. Okay. Cool. And then, finally, please, raise your hand and speak. If you don't know exactly how to do it, just raise your hand and say, and we will help you. We will be guiding you with the whole process. We are literally here to help you with that. And the more people speaking, the better it is for us and for the GA. And we get the opportunity to meet you a little bit better, which is also very cool. So yeah, that was it from my presentation about Robert's Rules. Any questions? Awesome. Okay. So now we're going to go to a very nice topic of the General Assembly as well. That is the roll call. James.
James Calagiuri, IVSA Exco. So I'm going to call each member organization off one at a time, and when I get to your MO, please stand up and say present in your native language. IVSA Algeria. All right, everyone. IVSA Algeria. Algeria. It's alphabetical. IVSA Austria. IVSA Bangladesh. IVSA Belarus. IVSA Belgium. IVSA Bosnia and Herzegovina. IVSA Brazil. IVSA Bulgaria. IVSA Canada. IVSA Chile. IVSA China. IVSA Colombia. IVSA Croatia. IVSA Cyprus. IVSA Czech Republic. IVSA Denmark. IVSA Congo. IVSA Ecuador. IVSA Egypt. IVSA Estonia. IVSA Finland. IVSA France. IVSA Germany. IVSA Ghana. IVSA Greece. IVSA Grenada, IVSA Hungary, IVSA India, IVSA Indonesia, IVSA Ireland, IVSA Italy, IVSA Japan, IVSA Latvia, IVSA Lithuania, IVSA Malawi, IVSA Malaysia, IVSA Mexico, IVSA Morocco, IVSA Namibia, IVSA Nepal, IVSA Nigeria, IVSA North Macedonia, IVSA Norway, IVSA Pakistan, IVSA Palestine, IVSA Peru, IVSA Philippines, IVSA Poland,
Obecna.
IVSA Portugal, IVSA Republic of Moldova, IVSA Romania, IVSA Rwanda, IVSA Senegal, IVSA Serbia, IVSA Slovakia, IVSA Slovenia, IVSA Somalia, IVSA South Africa, IVSA South Korea, IVSA Spain, IVSA St. Kitts and Nevis, IVSA Sudan, IVSA Sweden, IVSA Switzerland, IVSA Taiwan, IVSA Tanzania, IVSA Thailand, IVSA the Netherlands, IVSA Trinidad and Tobago, IVSA Tunisia, IVSA Turkey, IVSA Uganda, IVSA UK, IVSA UK, IVSA Ukraine, IVSA USA, IVSA Venezuela. We have 51.85%. We have quorum.
Nice.
And everyone, this is happening. So, if you just heard me state that we have quorum. So for those who have never been to a General Assembly before, we have to have at least 40% of all member organizations in IVSA present during General Assembly in order to make any decisions and vote on anything. So that means members have to show up to General Assembly in order for us to be able to do anything here. We need at least 40%. Like I said, we have 51.85. So we are good.
That was a very polite way to say show up. So I guess now we can move on to topic 4. So topic 4 is granting candidate member organization voting rights. This topic is based on the G resolution that was approved on the 70th IVSA symposium. This specific resolution states that for the next 3 events, in-person events that are held, any MO that attended any IVSA event online will be granted voting rights at the beginning of the event and not at the end of it. Okay, so in this case, I believe we have one MO that is an active candidate that fits into this category, which is the case of IVSA Venezuela. So, congratulations, IVSA Venezuela. You are now considered an active member of IVSA, and now that's great, which means that you can vote since the beginning of it. Okay, so moving on. We have the next topic, which means election of the GA chair. So basically, somebody to stay here instead of me and do this in a better way. So, now I would like to open the floor for nominations. Do we have any nominations for it? Yes, Nabil.
I don't need one.
Use the mic.
For the minutes.
Nabil Ed.
Yeah, you working?
Yeah, here. Nabil El Habib, IVSA Morocco. I nominate Meryl, IVSA Belgium.
Meryl Knops, IVSA Belgium, I accept.
Do we have any other nominations?
Please say no.
I don't see any hands, so nominations are closed. Congratulations, Meryl, you're the new chair.
Hear my voice a lot. I hope that does not stop you from coming to talk to me in person as well, because I'd love to get to know all of you during this event. Alright, so off to the next agenda topic. Not to delay too much, is going to be the election of the parliamentarian. So Yuri has actually already explained a little bit what the parliamentarian does. Basically, the parliamentarian is someone with a good knowledge of IVSA, our bylaws, our constitution, and then Robert's Rules of Order. So that's going to be someone that you guys can ask questions to. During the GA, if you're ever unsure about the order of business, what's the next step, how maybe you can do something. If that's not something I'm not going to be able to answer, or if it's something that's very detailed in our bylaws or constitution, then that's going to be our parliamentarian who's going to be able to answer that question for you. So without any further ado, are there any nominations for parliamentarian? Tara?
Jessica, this is Sabrina. I would like to nominate Mateo Caprimal for the parliamentarian.
Mateo?
Matteo Carnevale, IVSA Islay, I accept.
Okay. Now I have to officially ask, are there any other nominations? Guys, shh. I don't want to have to shush you guys. I feel like a librarian if I do that, so please, we're all adults, pay attention. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, Mateo, congratulations, you are our parliamentarian. So as you guys know, this event we're going to have elections for a new team of IVSA officials. To run those elections smoothly, which is often a little bit more difficult than you might imagine, we have an election committee consisting out of 3 people, one of which is on Exco and then the others can basically be anyone. Alright, so now the election committee themselves are not able to run for positions as they're supposed to be non-biased, neutral, and just allowing that to have non-biased elections, which is really important. So, are there any nominations for election committee? First, Nabil, and then I'll get to you guys.
Nabil. Nabil. Nabil El Habib, IVSA Morocco. I nominate Vanda, IVSA Exco.
Vanda.
Vanda Lucic, IVSA Expo, I accept.
Alright. And I saw a hand from Tara. Stand. And another, yes. John.
John Penn, IVSA Taiwan, I accept.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, seeing that there are 3 nominations and our election committee is supposed to consist out of 3 people, our election committee is full, so congratulations, Tara, John, and Vanda. Alright, I just got whispered something in my ear that I will now tell you guys. Please, before speaking, wait for the microphone to come to you. We have officials with these microphones. They need to get their steps in. And then also, if you speak up without speaking in the microphone, the sound system is not picking it up, so it's not being heard on our backup minutes, which is really important so that we have everything that you guys are saying and we type it out into a document and then that's approved and everything. So please wait for the microphone. I know you guys are able to talk loud enough and scream. I'm sure we're going to hear all of that tonight, but please wait. Okay, agenda point number 8 is amendments to and approval of the proposed agenda. So as you guys know, the agenda of this General Assembly has been sent out to you guys way before this event, and now is the time to open the floor to any possible amendment or anything else you might want to add to this agenda. If not, we're just going to approve it as is. So are there any amendments? Yes. Yuri?
Yeah, Yuri, IVSA Exco. So I'd like to propose for a change to move topic DI Task Force update, currently 38.1, to topic, move it to topic 17. Yes. Also, second change, just to facilitate and keep it making sense. The topic new IVSA Code of Conduct, currently topic 17, be moved to be topic 17.1. Yes.
Okay. Is there any discussion on making these amendments? Yuri, you can quickly explain why you're doing what you're doing.
Yes. So basically, the DEI task force, they were the ones responsible for making this updates in the IVSA Code of Conduct. And the way the agenda was, it was actually kind of senseless that we approve the Code of Conduct on discuss the Code of Conduct on topic 17, and then later on topic 38, the DI task force would report about the changes that they made in the Code of Conduct that was already discussed. So just to keep it simple.
Okay, I hope that's clear enough. Basically, we're not changing a lot, just one agenda point is moving forward to make more sense. Any other discussion on the amendment to the agenda that's on the floor? Any objections? Seeing none, motion passes, agenda is amended. Then, after every motion that passes, you're allowed to clap. Wakes up the people that fell asleep, and also it's just happy and exciting. All right. Agenda point? No. Nominations for Executive Committee 2023-2024. Ooh, fancy. This is new, guys. All right. So, as I said before, we're having elections again at this Congress. You're all able to run. Anyone at home is able to run. They just need someone here present in the GA to nominate them. So first we're going to start with nominations for Executive Committee. Please know that you're all free to come talk to anyone on Exco, obviously holding the position. That would be great, just to inform about what the position exactly entails, or anyone else in the team of officials. Just talk to us what it's like to be an official, how we experience our positions. Some of us have held others in the past, so make sure to just come talk to us and kind of see what it's like before getting nominated. And yeah, we're also able to just give great insights. So definitely do check in with us. That being said, are there any nominations for Executive Committee 2023-2024? Mateo.
Matteo Carnevale, IVSA Italy. I would like to nominate Tessa van Dunen from IVSA the Netherlands for the position of IVSA Treasurer.
Okay, Tessa. Wait for the mic. Yes, very good.
Tessa van Dunen, IVSA the Netherlands. I accept.
Okay. I have some follow-up questions for you. Yay, you've accepted. In the case that you do not get elected as treasurer, would you like to run for secretariat? No.
Yes.
I do them all on secretary. Yes. Yes for secretary. Would you like to run for regional? Oh, can you run for only one? That's, I cannot do it. I'm gonna ask this question again. You see, I make mistakes as well. It's fine. So if you guys make mistakes, it's even more fun because I'm supposed to know how this works. Seeing that you've been an official before, you can also run for trust. So in the case you do not get elected as treasurer, there's 3 positions you can run for instead. It's regional rep, so for you that's Europe, or secretary or trust. Which of the 3 would you like to run for, if any? You're also allowed to say no. Trust. Okay. Are there any other nominations for executive committee?
Gerda Paulanda, IVSA Turkey. I want to nominate Susanna Chepia for committee coordinator.
Susanna?
Zuzanna Csakai, IVSA Pont, I accept.
Susanna, for you the same question. Would you like to run for either regional rep, trust, or secretary in the case that you do not get elected as committee coordinator?
For trust. For trust.
Okay, also trust. Let's see. Are there any other nominations for executive committee? Seeing none, nominations are now closed and we will reopen again at the next session of the General Assembly. Then, the next agenda point is nominations for chairs of standing and candidate committees/networks. Same goes here. Our committee coordinator is actually arriving later, but we have some of the chairs here as well. So come talk to them in case you want to run for chairing one of these committees or networks. Are there any nominations for chair? Yes.
Lauren for IVSA USA, and I'd like to nominate Alexandra Yu for the Standing Committee on One Health.
Sorry, can you repeat?
For the Standing Committee on One Health. The chair, Alexandra Yu.
Oh, okay. Okay, and?
Alexandra Yu, IVSA USA, I accept.
Okay. All right, it's just executive committee members, well, people that run for executive committee that can run for other positions in case they don't get nominated, so I'm not going to ask those questions to the positions we're electing now. If you're confused about this, that's just the way it is in our bylaws. Then, are there any other nominations for chairs? Yes.
Again, Lauren Winker from IVSA USA, and I would like to nominate Jesus Hernandez for the Wild and Exotic Animals Network Chair.
Jesus?
Jesus Hernandez, IVSA USA, I accept.
All right, this is good. We're already filling up some of our positions. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, nominations are closed and we'll be open again at the next session of the General Assembly. Then nominations for regional representatives. Are there any nominations? All right. Waiting for the microphone.
Sorry.
Poor John. Multitasking.
Tara, IVSA Slovenia, I would like to nominate Stella Kovacic for regional rep for Europe.
Stella Kovacic, IVSA Croatia, I accept. Okay, just for clarification, that is the European regional rep because Croatia. Are there any other nominations for regional representatives? Yes.
Basti Ponce, IVSA Peru, I nominate Alessandra Bubo from IVSA Peru as an American regional representative.
Okay. Alison?
Alessandra Bubo, IVSA Peru, I accept.
Then, are there any other nominations? Seeing none, nominations are now closed and will reopen again at the next session of General Assembly. Then, now we're opening nominations for Secretariat. Yes.
Desiree Hong, IVSA China, I want to nominate Aaron Ko for the secretariat position.
Aaron?
Aaron Ko, IVSA China, I accept.
All right, how exciting. If you're like, what is the Secretariat? Come talk to us and ask us. the Secretariat supports the IVSA Exco. So you're a Secretariat under specific Exco position or positions, and then you just support that Exco member in their duties and responsibilities. Okay, I know this is taking a long time. It's important. We want to give everyone the opportunity to run for the positions they want to run for. So usually this takes a bit of time, but we'll go faster during the next ones. So then, nominations for trust. Are there any nominations for trust? Susanna?
Susanna Czekaj, IVSA Poland. I would like to nominate Mateo Carnevale for trust.
Mateo?
Mateo Carnevale, IVSA Italy, I accept.
In case you are wondering, what is trust? It is what I am, and it is basically people that have held positions in IVSA before. It can be Exco or any other type of official. So we are people with experience and knowledge, or we are supposed to be people with experience and knowledge. And as trust, you function as an advisory board to the executive committee. So whenever they run into issues or problems, they can come to trust and be like, hey, please help us. And then we give our advice, and then they don't listen to it. So, any other nominations for trust? Seeing none, nominations are closed, and we'll reopen again at the next session of the General Assembly. So, up next is nominations for 73rd IVSA Symposium, 1.5 years away. Are there any nominations for IVSA Symposium? There are none at this point. I do want to mention to you guys, these nominations were already open the last time in Slovenia, and then we had 2 nominations, which were IVSA Morocco and IVSA Ireland. So we already have 2 other MOs running for Symposium, but we're reopening again now and closing definitively here, and then also voting on who's going to be our host during this event. Anyway, see, there are no nominations are closed. We're moving on to nominations for the 74th IVSA Congress, which is 2 years away. Are there any nominations for Congress? Seeing none, nominations are closed, but will reopen again. In case you're interested, there are lots of OC members here. Definitely go talk to Daniel or Vonda as MOD, who knows what it's like to organize an event and the toll it takes on you, but also how exciting it can be. Okay. I don't understand. Oh, thank you. All right. Up next on the agenda is our partner presentation from Korean Institute, which has already taken place since we had to move things around a little bit to facilitate our partner's schedule. But it was good, and we learned a lot, and they have a free ebook that's out now, which is apparently really great. So then, off to our last agenda point for GA1, we're still continuing with GA1 onwards, is the DEI task force update. Anami? I am trying to open this. Okay.
evening, everyone. I'm Anandu Rajaji. I'm the current chair of COCAS, as well as the DA task force. Okay, I'm Anandu Rajaji from IVSA India. So I'll start with the explanation, I guess. It's not going to be too long. I guess I'll try to wrap it up and give you a daily capsule idea, and I'll let you know. I'll let you read some stuff that's like I highlighted it. So I'll further. So first, why the task force? It was like it has always been an issue in IVSA that we didn't have like a standardized protocol to do stuff if they get a complaint or have anything else to talk about. Like internal stuff, like there's been situations that our officers and exco people has like left the committee during the term because of the communication issues, maybe other things, something. So we want to make it more transparent and to discuss it. And about the external political affairs, when it comes to war and other kind of stuff like natural disaster things, we tend to get into a situation where we have to take an opinion about the subject, which is actually hard because we are a non-political organization, so we cannot get biased about something. So that was also an issue. So that's why basically task force came, and the last symposium happened in Slovenia. We had such kind of situation, so that's why it is immediately came. This is the team chair, me itself. Secretary Mohana Maratha from IVSA India, she's here, and the research team manager Susanna from IVSA Poland, she's also here. The rest of them are not here actually. Okay, the basic, that's the update about DA task force, and we worked on the code of conduct for like more than 3-4 months, and we actually researched a lot from other organizations like Wazawa and other their standard policies and standard protocols to work things. So we made it, like we already have a code of conduct. I guess you guys must be knowing that. In that we already have mission statement, introduction, and local laws and codification. And rather than this, we added the extra points and also we elaborated the existing COC. So I want you guys to scan this. This is the new COC that we made, and in that, for you to have a quick read, I have highlighted the important points that you need to understand. In the first and second page, you won't be getting too much because it's just basically what already was there in the COC. I hope you all scanned, right? Can I move? No objection, right? Cool. Okay. In the introduction, it's typically the first and second page is basically the same. Okay, you can scan at any time. You are going to be here all the time. Okay. In the mission statement, it still stays the same. In introduction, it still stays the same. And when you come to the third page, you can see in 2.9 and 2.10 and 2.11, it's added that this COC applies for social media behavior and about alcohol consumption in an event and smoking during the event. I hope you can read that. Yeah. So yeah, I don't have to explain more, right? It will be long, I guess. I hope you did read it. Okay, good. We'll go to the next. In page number 4, there's local laws. In that, there is 3.2.2, like alcohol consumption is this in disagreement with local laws, because in some places, like in Indonesia, it is not legal to drink alcohol. So, in that cases, the alcohol consumption has it will comes under the local laws. Okay, that's the next. The 4 it comes under the 4th page, raising concerns. Actually, you will understand the raising concerns only after completing the topic, completing the entire presentation, because In 4.5, you can actually raise a complaint or any issue that you feel that's been neglected or violated. You can just go to OC or the official or any of the exco member. That's how it works. And there's in 4.3, there's an option to make your complaint an anonymous one. So if you are not comfortable to open up with any issue or something, you can be anonymous 80% or completely, because if you are raising a concern and if it's a false concern, it is a code of violation and you will have to answer for it. So that's why we made it that way. And in 5, there's a new section, who can make a complaint. It's basically IVSA members, any IVSA members around the globe, like if we are having the event here, and if people want to say anything like that person posted Instagram like different things about Denmark or something, he can actually complain as an IVSA member, not being present here. And all invited guests, all volunteers, and all technical and non-technical staff present in the event can make a complaint. And who considers the complaint? This is the important situation. And before that, I guess in page 6, there's an IVSA anti-harassment policy, which is a complete new thing. There was nothing like that before in the COC. It is actually kind of taken from the organizations of WVS and etc. So in that, it is mentioned and elaborated about harassment, forms of harassment, and diversity, equity, and inclusivity, and what it means, and almost all the harassment kind of things are there. So we can go through it. It's pretty much good, and it's not something that we purely made. It is something that we inspired and copied. So I'll explain the anti-harassment panel later. So next is the code of violation in page number 7. So okay, the changes we made is like the panel will consider the complaint, and panel will discuss on the complaint and make some decisions. The decisions can be an official warning, removal from the event, ban from participation in future IVSA events, and ban or suspension from IVSA. Okay, it will be elaborated in the coming sessions on how we are going to do it. It's not like we are just banning people. We'll be taking protocols to do that. And in appendix, it is written about the protocol. So how we are going to do it. So coming to the first thing is our anti-harassment panel. Okay, it basically contains 2 panels. One is core panel and a full panel. I don't want to make you confused. It's just like the core panel is 4 people from EXCO, including the IVSA global president, and 4 people from the OC, including the OC president. That's the core panel. Okay, and the full panel is this core panel plus the complainant, or the complainant can represent someone, and the defendant or the person itself, or the representative of the person. That's how it gets. I guess you got it. It's like core panel, that's 4 plus 4, 4 OC plus 4 global people, and the full panel is 4 plus 4 plus 2. 2 is the defendant and the complainant or their representatives plus the core panel. So, how are we going to do it? It's the protocol for panel. The COC applies for online events and offline events, and all the IVSA opportunities also. So in appendix A, it applies for the in-person events and online events, as you can see in page number 8. And the terminologies, as I said, it's full panel and core panel. The same exact thing what I said. And for online events, it's not mandatory to have like 8 and 8. It will decide. And in session 1, okay, the first thing is you get a complaint. The first thing, you get a complaint. In session 1, the anti-harassment panel will be called immediately after getting complaint, and they will hear both sides separately and privately and will document it and will assess the severity of the event and will collect more details, like if there is any weakness or if there kind of audio or video kind of things are there, they're going to collect that and run through it. And in section 2, they're going to analyze what happened in section 1 and clarify, and they sit together and clarify what their opinion and what they are thinking about these things. And in the section 2, you can see they are talking with the full panel. So it is possible that the defendant and the complainant can make a quarrel with words or something. So if they are doing that, it's a code of violation. So they have to do it in a calm way to make this code of conduct really good. And in session 3, they will sit together, the core panel will sit together and analyze this section 2, and any one of the core panel can suggest a decision. In section 3, you can see what all the decisions are. So there's the main decisions are an official warning from the anti-harassment panel or ban removal from the event. Okay. This decision can be taken by voting anonymously within the core panel, not the full panel actually. After that, you have to get EXCO approval for that. Okay. In this case, an official warning can be done by the panel itself, and for the removal from the event, after they decide it, they have to go to EXCO and they'll give us second voting on whether on the things like they should be banned from IVSA completely or suspend from IVSA. It is in page number 9 in 3.5. That's the second voting thing. I guess you can read it. And in 3.6.1, it's written that the EXCO will be taking final decisions after anonymous voting of the suggestions that are made by anti-harassment panel. Okay, next is protocol for other situations like the social media pages and the other things like IVSA opportunities, IVSA funded opportunities, and everything. So it's basically the same of section A, like protocol for panels. It's basically the same, and the panel differs because the panel also stays the same. It's basically the same, but in section 3 there's changes. In 3.4, it will be made in the General Assembly and will get a final decision regarding 3.2.4. And for the panel, for the decisions, for everything that done by the anti-harassment panel has to be recorded, every complaint and every decision that made, and they should be made available to the next anti-harassment panel that coming, so they can look after it and see whether the person has committed the same thing again and again or something like that. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. So, thank you so much, Anandi, for this great presentation on our lovely DEI task force, which is doing amazing work. There were no questions for Anandi? Jesus?
So regarding the way that the prosecution will take place, would there be a way to make an appeal for the person who's being accused of whatever? Like, if proper procedure is not followed, like, would you be able to appeal the case? Because I feel like that's something important that I didn't see in the bylaw. Or like, I mean, I might have missed it, but I don't know if it's in there. Like, if proper procedure by the executive committee is not followed, then the person that's being accused could appeal the case to the board. I feel like that's something that might be engaging. I just wanted to ask about that.
Okay.
That's a good suggestion, I think.
Do you want to answer it?
I think we have discussed about that, and considering not following the protocols is considered as a code of violation, and maybe that guy can, or that guy or girl can keep it as a code of violation again, I guess. That's pretty complex, basically.
I just feel like it should be like.
Don't, no. All right, a quick reminder, raise your hand before you speak and then I address you. And don't forget to state your name and countries. Is there any other discussion? More questions? Tessa?
Tessa van the IVSA Netherlands. I was wondering, because I know all the abbreviations that are here, but I couldn't find the list that explains the abbreviations EXCO, OC, and I think it's a friendly amendment to maybe add a small list of abbreviations for people who are not as experienced yet, if it's their first commerce example. That's it.
Okay. So a motion to perhaps add a list of abbreviations to the code of conduct? Yuri?
Yeah, so Yuri, IVSA EXCO. Regarding this, all the grammar changes, they will be again verified before anything, if approved, and before being published, all grammar will be checked. But regarding our specific point, all abbreviations, they are first mentioned incomplete in the beginning of the task, so we don't have an abbreviation that is not beforehand mentioned the full name.
Okay, did anyone else want to? Lisa?
Lisa Buur, IVSA Netherlands. Just responding to the point previous speaker made about an appeal procedure. If you want to do that, you probably can do that towards, for example, the EXCO, because it's going to be a separate panel that's going to decide. And if you want to appeal against that, there needs to be another entity doing so. So yeah, if you want to do that, I'm open to suggestions for that.
All right, thank you, Lisa, for making that suggestion. Okay, that's fine. James?
James Calabria at EXCO. Maybe it was just not understood too, maybe this help makes it clear. So it's, before a banning or anything, it will have to go through multiple votes and it's looked at multiple times. The initial panel takes the complaint with representative from both parties. No matter what's happening, both parties are represented in the panel. And then they make a vote and a recommendation, so if they are suggesting a banning, then it comes to EXCO, and EXCO reviews the entire thing as well, and then would also have to make a decision to move forward on that as well. Yes, an appeal would also maybe be an idea to bring in, but it is going through 2 full votes before a final decision like that is made, if that helps understand as well. Oh, sorry, yes. Sorry, thank you. Then for a full termination of membership and banning, full banning from IVSA, that is actually a decision that is brought to the GA. If the EXCO decides they agree with that, then the GA is the one that ultimately decides that final decision if they are fully kicked out from IVSA after that. So it's actually tends to be 3 votes for the full.
Okay, thank you, James, for explaining a little bit more on how we would go about prosecuting our little IVSA delinquents. I do want to say, good suggestion, definitely great that you're thinking along, so I want to applaud that. Also for anyone else, if you ever have any suggestions to the work that we as IVSA are doing, definitely bring it up in the GA as was done, and also come talk to us. We're super open about everything you have to say, and we're definitely taking everything super seriously. so that we can also get to work on these things behind the screens. All right, then, all right, the chair will now entertain a motion to go into a 15-minute recess. Jacopo?
Jacopo Filippini, IVSA Italy, I so move.
All right, so this was an example of what it's like when the chair entertains a motion and then someone needs to say, I so move, and then it's seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? Yes, for me. Guys, please listen to me. We're going to recess really quickly, so just a couple more seconds of your attention span, please. We're going to go into a 15-minute recess so you guys can go pee really quickly, but more importantly, your buddies are going to come to you, so just pee and then come back as soon as you're done. Your buddies are going to come to you and discuss with you the code of conduct because we're going to actually vote on it after. So that's why we're giving you guys some time to spend with your IVSA officials buddies. If you have any questions, if you need any more elaborations, we're going to be there for you to guide you in this process. Okay, any other discussion? Susanna?
Susanna Salvatore, IVSA Italy. I'm sorry, but I didn't understand that we're closing the discussion. I thought we were going to recess and then taking up the point again. So I have a question in the discussion of the point before.
So you can't do that now because there's a motion on the floor. It doesn't pertain to it, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Any other discussion on the motion on the floor, which is to go into recess? Seeing, are there any objections to going into recess? Seeing none, motion passes. We're at recess at, I don't know what it is. country, though no one will die if you don't, obviously, so it's not that horrible. And furthermore, within a discussion, if you've spoken on something, we always try to give others the floor before we go back to you. So those are some basic things. If you make a mistake, I promise I won't cut you off anymore. And I'll just let you make a mistake and then I'll try to just correct you afterwards. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, that's all fine. I make plenty of them when I'm not here. Okay. Having said that, I'm calling the GA back to order at 5:32 Copenhagen time. And then we move on to our next agenda point. Which is 17.1, the new IVSA Code of Conduct. Anand.
Hello. Mandu Rajaji from IVSA India. I move a motion to approve the new IVSA Code of Conduct.
Can we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Also really quickly, you can just say, I move to accepting the code of conduct, or I move that blah blah. So we don't have to say, I move to make a motion. It's the same, I move is already a motion. But those are very minor details. We did really well. Alright, so the motion on the floor now is to accept the new code of conduct that was written by the DI task force. Is there any discussion on this motion? Given that Anandu made the motion, you're allowed to speak first. You already gave the presentation now, so if you still want to add something, you can.
Yes, we can have the discussion. Yes.
Okay. That's fine. You already gave the presentation, so you already gave most of the information. Yes?
Okay, I'm Miller, IVSA Germany. I have a question because you said that in the end, if someone is going to be banned or maybe not, that the GA will decide on that, right? Okay, and so my question is like, how much detail do you give the GA? I mean, of course, there are not going to be like names or I don't know whatever, but maybe we can say that the person who felt harassed or something like that can decide on how much information the GA gets. Because like otherwise it might, like they might feel uncomfortable that everyone is allowed to discuss their case, kind of, you know?
That's a good comment. Is there any... would you like to answer to that? Okay, then you may.
We haven't written specific details about presenting, how we present in GA, but actually there will be the, of course there will be president from the anti-harassment policy to present it. And if you want, I guess we can add a point whether we keep the person's name anonymous and say the rest of all details, because GA has to decide on it and GA should know what happened and what the anti-harassment policy has found out and what their decisions are. So I guess maybe we can think about making the name anonymous, but not nothing else, I guess.
Okay, Fonda?
Vanda IVSA Expo. We actually discussed this kind of an issue, and we came to an agreement that we will not mention the exact name or MO from which person who did the wrong thing comes from. The whole discussion will be completely anonymous, but all the relevant information regarding the accident or whatever happens.
Any other discussion? Yuri, you want to have? Yes, Yuri?
Yeah, so Yuri, IVSA Expo. Sorry, I'm not going to stand up because I have a notebook in my legs. Yeah, so that's actually a very good point, as Fanta said, it was discussed a lot. So if you check more to the beginning of the Code of Conduct, it's mentioned previously that it's part of the Code of Conduct job to keep the discretion and also in part of preserve the person's identity and, how can I say this, not to expose, now we are working on both sides, that's why both sides will remain anonymous. So when bringing this, of course, we don't intend on never having to use this, but if in a very hypothetical scenario, it happens that this is needed, it goes into the idea that we want to preserve persons' dignity as well as their rights to be anonymous, so we won't go into details of what happened if it's not relevant to the case. Of course, we're talking about a breach of code of conduct that can be very variable, so it can be to the point somebody throwing rocks into the window to something more serious. So the idea is to keep just essential information to also preserve the person as well, or group of people.
Okay, yeah.
IVSA Germany. Yeah, I think that was not really my point. My point was like if the person who felt unsafe can maybe decide on what is relevant and what is not. You know, because like maybe they don't want everyone's opinion on this and they maybe won't come forward to you if they feel like it's going to be discussed in like with 120 people. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think my point was more like not that you give names or anything, it's more like that the person who felt unsafe can maybe say what are the relevant infos that you can give to the GA, even though maybe they gave more information to the exco.
All right, thank you for that comment. Is there any more discussion? Yuri?
Okay, Yuri, IVSA Expo. Yeah, don't need too much. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. I'm taking a note here and checking also the code of conduct itself, but I do believe it's something we can add into the protocol. So basically in the Appendix A and Appendix B, that we do take, to have it actually written and very specified that we do take into consideration also the person's interest in what should remain public or not, because, well, when you bring this, it also raises a very good point. Depending on the repercussion that this takes, sometimes the person bringing it turn out to something way bigger than she or he actually imagined. The person can actually decide to not move forward to it, and having this topic is also a good way to protect. So at some point the person can say, oh, this got way too big, I would like to actually not have it discussed anymore and kind of withdraw and say like this, the complaint, or just minimize it. So I think it is something we can add in both appendixes as well.
Anyone else that hasn't spoken yet that would like to add something to the motion, which is to approve the new code of conduct? Ben London?
Under Digital IVSA Exco, I understand completely the point that previous speaker made. However, what I see as a potential problem is if GA has to decide on something serious and they would like to, like we are bringing an option of banning this person from IVSA, I also believe that GA should have all of the important information so they can make this decision, because it is a pretty huge decision, and if we decide to not give them all of the information, will they be able to make this decision fully or not? So this is also something that I think should be discussed more definitely on how we should approach it.
All right. There's that.
Gabriela Grande, IVSA Italy. I was wondering, like, she is right, but if we're not going to say the names, it doesn't make a lot of sense to not give us, the GA, the informations. And it's right from the person that has been assaulted to not be present if she or he doesn't want to be present. And no one is going to know who is the person of interest, not who did it and not who received it. So also this one, just like in general, I don't want to make it just a point. If we're not going to give names, the details itself are not a big deal. That's my point of view.
Okay, thank you, Gabriela. Any other discussion? James?
James Caligiuri, IVSA Exco. Just also kind of touching on this aspect. Depending on when an issue also happens, it may not be discussed during that event, so it might be discussed during a separate event. So it would also bring even more anonymity because it's not even in the same event. We discuss it during like the following Congress or symposium. People can't even work out information because it's a completely different event and the same people might not even be present. So that also adds more anonymity to the situation as well.
Okay, thank you, James, for that clarification. Alessio? Is that I'm still getting to know the Italian, I'm sorry. I'm trying.
I actually agree with limiting, allowing the person of interest to limit the amount of information, in the sense that there is a commission that is going to be involved in discussing which details should be relevant to the GA. So I think that the person of interest should have a word in what is important in this discussion, but there's still a commission that can decide, yes, if we should add something, yes, then this can be eliminated from the discussion.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you then for the US.
Michelle Brennan, IVSA USA. I also agree with the point that it's not exactly conducive to having victims of potential assault come forward with complaints if the entire GA is going to know about what happened, because people talk, even if the names are anonymous, everyone's likely to know who is involved, especially if the two people are the only ones who are not present. So perhaps what would be better is if a small group from the GA were selected to form kind of a closed jury, so to speak. That is closed, they can't discuss the case with the rest of the GA, and that we are putting our confidence still in the GA to vote, but it's less exposed, and therefore it encourages people to come forward if an incident does occur.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Yuri?
Yeah, so Yuri, IVSA Exco. Just a comment on the previous comment. Yeah, so this is something that I think is super important to start. The code of conduct is a very wide thing. I know that most of the examples quoted here they are regarding sexual harassment, but we are talking about many, many things. Okay, not that this will change, but I will come now. But when we are talking about the extreme decision of expelling someone from the association, from IVSA, this is a very big decision, right? And it's quite complicated to us that this would be, to be honest, one of the most important decision that the GA would have to take, like a very serious and very hard decision, and it would be very complicated for us to say, yes, this decision was taken, but by 10 no's, or 5 no's, or 10 people, instead of, and the other ones did not participate in this discussion. Get your idea, but when we go to representation of it, and in the IVSA Constitution and in the IVSA bylaws, this would be something that the value of the decision would be very much lowered, let's say like this, because we will not say, oh, out of our 70 members, it was decided by 65 that this person should be expelled. We would be saying, out of our 70 members, 20 gathered together and 15 decided that they should be expelled. So it's kind of very sensitive topic to be decided in a very small group. That's why we even put that in order to reach into this discussion, a panel should be approved, should be recommend this. EXCO by 75% of the votes should be in favor of moving forward with this, so that the GA can discuss, and then the GA would have to also be in favor. And yeah, the GA would also have to be in favor with 2/3 of the votes. And like, I don't know if got clear what I want to say, like restricting who participates on this, they kind of take the value of such an important decision.
Okay, I'm gonna let Tessa speak first, and then, unless there's no one like to speak.
Tessa van der IVSA Netherlands. Hearing what's been said by several previous speakers, I think to summarize it is, if someone does not want their personal, what happened to that person said to the GA, then that person might want it told to the GA. So I was wondering if it could be an option to have that person decide whether or not it's going to be an option for the one that's going to be for the defendant to be this sent out of IVSA, to be banned from IVSA, because if that person like, I don't want this person to be banned, then it will never go to the GA. So then to make that last option, a possibility that the assault person or whoever is going to the going to say something about the code of conduct, if they feel like I don't want this to be discussed in the GA, it cannot lead to a ban of this person. So if you accept that I'm going to go to this committee but this person will never be banned, then it doesn't have to go to GA. So I was thinking that might be a solution to still keep the power of the GA intact, but also protect the person if they do not want what have happened to them, how to do it.
That's okay. Thank you. Michelle?
Michelle Berman, IVSA USA. I appreciate the point that was previously made by both parties. I agree that it is a very big decision if we're talking about potentially banning someone from IVSA. However, and that is like something that we should really value, like in that decision. But at the same time, it's also really important that we value that this is a safe space for everyone. And if going for the GA with a really sensitive matter for whoever was victimized by potential harassment, what have you, it would really be impacted by the fact that now everyone's going to have to know about it and decide on it. And I think that value shouldn't necessarily be undermined because of the procedure.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more discussion?
Izzy Swift, IVSA USA. I have a separate question. Is there a timeline for when incidents can be reported? For example, if something happens this Congress, can they be reported next time there's a symposium or something? Or does it have to be reported within 24 hours, within a week? Is there any timeline, or is it just whenever you can report it? If that makes sense.
Yuri?
Yeah, Yuri, IVSA EXCO. So lots of good comments. I'm taking some notes. I will answer these previous comments after I just made something that I know that I took a quick draft. So it was brought a lot here regarding preserving the person's options to not release to the GA, or regarding the information that is going to be displayed to the GA, and have the person have this ability to decide or request some information to not be displayed. So I would like to make a suggestion so that you guys can also comment on this, to add on the protocol that we have, that the person that makes the complaint, he, she, the person can request some information to not be displayed to the General Assembly in case we're into this, because again, this is a very, very extreme scenario. Being aware that this can also affect the process of it, so sometimes not displaying some information can affect the decision of the GA. And also adding in the appendix that in case we reach the situation where we are going to move, the panel decided, recommended to ban, EXCO approved to move forward with this, that the person will have the final say, and the person can say, yeah, I would like not to go to the GA. Have to give the person this final decision. So if the person says no, then okay, he's not going to the GA, banning is no longer an option. We stay with the other options that don't go with the GA. And then finally, also have this, in order to preserve also the persons, that in case we are going to this extreme situation, a vote in the GA cannot happen in the same GA session. So in case of an in-person event, of course, if something happens, we cannot vote on a ban for something to happen in this event, or that event, nothing will happen here. But in this very hypothetical scenario that something happens, we cannot vote here. We would have to wait for the next one. So that different people, different situations, 6 months gap, and we want to be this sensitive situation where everybody's just like, oh, who is listening to the GA? I want to know who is the complaint and who is complaining about. And then finally, just a comment on what the previous speaker said. So complaints don't go to the GA. So you can, the complaint can be made to anyone as is written in the Code of Conduct. You can make a complaint to anyone from the officials, from the organizing committee, and in case that is not an in-person event, or in case the person decides to make a complaint after the event is over, there is also an email that the person can enter, send it, and then the complaint will be analyzed as well. So don't bring complaints like this to the GA, don't expose yourself to this. You don't need to do that. You can contact a close friend, you can even contact a friend and ask these friends to contact somebody from the officials, from the COC, from the organizing committee, or such stuff. Yeah.
All right. If you're allowed to stand up now, we don't have your now. And you have to address the chair, not the GA. So you need to look at me. I thought I had something else to say, but I forgot. So I'm moving on to Lisa.
Lisa Brewer, IVSA minutes. Maybe just to clarify some of the concerns of the previous speakers. The idea behind this is to do this, of course, as anonymously as we possibly can. This is always going to be together with the complainant, and of course the panel will discuss as much anonymously as they can. Of course, we're not going to tell every detail to the GA, that's not necessary either. Like, if something happens, you can always step up to the people on the panel who will be announced before the event, or at least at the start of the event, so you know who to reach out to. If you don't want to do it yourself, as Yuri said, someone, previous speaker said, you can ask someone else to do that for you, and again, that's going to be anonymous. So if we discuss it in GA, it's going to be, right, something happened at an event, X happened, this was done by a member. What would the GA consider we do in this situation? So we're going to keep it as blank basically as we can. And of course that is
based on how much schools play them wants to. That makes sense.
Okay. Laura?
We've been discussing this a lot about one point this kind of splits into two. There's one person. Oh, sorry. One point this kind of splits into two, so if someone needs to go into it, you can take the microphone from me. But the first part is if this is a legal issue where we do say that we have to follow laws, and there could be situations where these harassments could actually break local laws. How are we going to be handling that? I mean, there's some form of harassment that I know doesn't happen in the United States, so you have to legally report it as a mandated reporter of that type of situation. Would be the first one, and then also in those situations where it's a legal matter and people feel unsafe and we're waiting for potentially another GA or the next GA, and there's a situation where there's a person who is like jeopardizing the safety of our GA, would there be a way to expedite the process of this?
Okay, thank you for those questions. Is there any other discussion? Anandu?
IVSA India. So in the session local laws in 3, you can see that in 3.2 it's mentioned that if the person is found guilty for violating any of the local laws, it's including legal issues, it will be resulting removal from the event and alerting the local government. I guess it's clear.
Alright, we're also quickly putting up the code of conduct, so maybe you have a bit of a better idea of what exactly we're discussing. And as we're voting on approving it, in theory, you guys are allowed to make amendments to it. So you've all raised concerns. If you find a way to put it into words and make an amendment to this document, then that is something that we can also be voting on. So it's not like, this is the final document, this is yes or no. We're asking for input, so you're also allowed to actually make these changes yourself. And then that's voted on by the GA, so then the GA will further decide. Susanna?
Susanna Salvatori, IVSA Italy. I just want to ask if, change of point, when we refer to alcohol consumption inside IVSA events, are we talking about local events too? I'll just give you an example. For example, local lecture, for example, and after a local lecture, if you have an happy hour after the lecture, would it be okay to have beer and spirits, for example, or that would be considered also against the code of conduct?
All right, thank you for your question. All right, so we're just really quickly putting up where you can see it. So this is here, 11, adhere to local laws and regulations. Does that answer your question?
Anandu, IVSA India. So in session 2 and 10.1, you can see drinking alcohol beverages is forbidden in IVSA meetings, including general assembly, lectures, workshops, and breaks. Breaks means in between breaks, and all other events hosted by IVSA, you can actually have alcohol. But in 10.2, it's written that if it's alcohol is it should be restricted to social activities, and it should be done in moderation and not affect the participants involved in the event. I guess that's clear. It's 10.1 and 10.2.
Rory?
Yeah, Yuri, IVSA Expo. So that's a very good point, and I also want to, I think there's also a justification on why we had this. So it happened that we were approached by MOs with the concern because the alcohol consumption in social activities, not in social activities, sorry, throughout the evening, in breaks, and before lectures, workshops in this interval, it actually reached universities and they cut funding for members who attend. So something that we believe it was harmless, maybe. The person did not have, of course, to go to get listed and this sort of stuff, but this affected other members that could rely on the funding from the university to attend to our opportunities. And it also does not generate a very good feedback when we have partners attending our events. Okay, it's possible that they say it's fine, but at the same time we work with the very high possibility that they do not appreciate such. And at the end, we are here for the educational part, for the lectural part. Of course, social activities are nice. We all would like to party. We all would like to hang out with friends. But the main idea is that during the day, we focus on the actual reason we are here, the GA, the workshops, the lectures.
All right, is there any further discussion? Gabriela spoke longer ago, so Gabriela?
Gabriela Grande, IVSA Italy. Just a clarification, does any point of the kind of the conduct is going to be brought to the GA, or just if someone has to be banned from IVSA? I don't know if I explained myself.
And Andrew, if you want to directly comment on that?
So at the GA, about talking about the last events, the anti-harassment panel should report all the work they have done, about the decisions also, but it takes votes only for the panel of IVSA decision. Rest of them is informed in GA but not take a decision. Only take a decision if the situation goes in like a banning from the IVSA also.
Thank you. So to repeat that, the only decision that gets through the GA is whether or not a member is banned from IVSA or future events. All other consequences are decided internally by Expo and the core panel, and then these decisions are reported to the General Assembly at the next session of the General Assembly. Okay, Laura, do you want to add?
Yeah, it doesn't help me right now, I don't have more discussion, but standard ed is Lauren Winker, IVSA USA, and before we do voting on this, I was going to motion for a standard use for MOs to discuss this before approving or not approving.
Okay, motion to stand at ease for 5 minutes. Let's say, any discussion? The discussion was that they would like to discuss amongst the members. Any other discussion on standing at ease? Any objections? Seeing none, we're at ease.
place. So the motion on the floor currently is to accept the code of conduct that was presented by the executive committee and the DEI task force. And some of the discussion points that have been brought up were the lack of an appeal procedure, and furthermore the influence bringing a case to the GA or bringing a case to officials with the fact that it would be further brought to the GA that would influence someone's decision on coming forward out of fear for having their situation, their incident brought up to the GA, so the influence of that. And then also another point of discussion was how much information is going to be brought to the GA, and another point of discussion was, is it going to be the full GA, or is it possible to have maybe a limited group of people? Other points of discussion were the legalities. Are these incidences also something that needs to be reported to local authorities, yes or no? Which laws are we following? As well as are local events included in the code of conduct, yes or no? So those are kind of the things that have previously been discussed. So now I would like to take this opportunity to just open the floor again for discussion on the code of conduct outside of the things that have already been discussed. If you still really want to add something, of course, you feel free to. But just to make sure that we're not going in circles and circles and circles again and kind of like stating the same things, just so we can also hopefully at one point move to dinner. I would like that. So definitely feel free to still say something if you want to add on to what has been previously discussed, but also definitely we're open for new points of discussion. Okay, so first someone, Jacqueline, who hasn't spoken yet, and then I'll come to you guys.
Jacqueline Goossens, IVSA Belgium. I'd just like to add, there was discussion about appeal procedures for the aggressor, let's say, but I think it's important to note that if we have an appeal procedure, it should be available for both the victim and the aggressor, like it is in court.
Thank you for your comment. Michelle,
Michelle Vernon, IVSA USA. I would like to make a motion to table this discussion for now, so that way we can have the evening to draft any potential amendments, proposals that we can represent to the GA tomorrow.
Okay.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this motion? I just want to quickly say that we were actually also planning on tabling this. And we wanted to just allow for more discussion now, so we would have all the discussion and then we could compile amendments and then make the amendments tomorrow. But if for some reason no one has any new things now, it's just so that we have all the amendments for tomorrow, so that tomorrow hopefully we can have amendments approved and then no new things are coming up. So tomorrow. Oh, it's not tomorrow. Oh, sorry, tomorrow there's no GA. At the next GA. Oh, there's a okay. All right. Now I've just explained what we were planning on doing, but there's a motion on the floor and table now. Is there any other discussion on tabling this motion? Are there any objections on tabling the approved code of conduct? Is that an objection?
Wait. Kind of objection because I would like to add something to the point of order.
Okay. Wait a second. There's an objection now. Can you just quickly state your name and country and then I object for the minutes?
Alina Möller, IVSA Germany, I object.
Thank you. Okay, so now we go to a vote on tabling this motion on
Okay, so everyone get your cards out. Okay, guys, just voting delegates, the only thing you need to do is open your little thing with the colors. That doesn't require that much sound. I'm first going to quickly explain what it is we're voting on, and then you can discuss amongst yourselves. Okay, so just to allow for you guys to actually know what to discuss. What we're going to vote on now is whether we table this discussion, yes or no. So, if you vote for, that means we're tabling it, and then we're going to end the GA here, and then go to dinner and everything, and then we're going to untable it at a later point, which means at this point there's going to be no further room for discussion today. Of course, it's still possible later. If you vote against, that means we're not going to table it right now. We're going to continue discussion, and then as I mentioned previously, we are still planning on tabling this after we feel like the discussion is done. So that's the second option. If you abstain, that means you either have no opinion or want to have no opinion, which is also a possibility. So for is tabling now, against is tabling after discussion, and then abstain is just abstain. So those are the three options. I will now entertain a motion to stand at ease for 5 minutes so you guys can discuss amongst yourselves how you're going to vote on this. Please try to make this a fast discussion because it's a very simple motion. Lisa?
Second.
Okay. Where are the people? Any discussion on standing at ease? No. Any objections? No. We're at ease for 5 minutes. Discuss.
on tabling this motion, so we're voting on tabling, approving the code of conduct. If you vote for, that means we're tabling now. If you vote against, that means we're going to continue discussion and then table later on today. Abstain is not giving it. So, okay. Mr. President has asked me to again reiterate that the reason why they wanted to table later is so that we could have more points of discussion today, so that we would have all the points of discussion before untabling it at a later point in this General Assembly. These are the two options. I'm now going to call for the card raising vote. So if all of the voting delegates would please raise their phone screens at me. Higher. Oh, you're yes. Oh, it just disappeared for a second. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing for which country is that? I don't know. So I think okay. Can you keep it up really quickly? It's roll call. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
Rat? Is it rat? Is it rat?
Alright, quickly your microphone here. Yeah, so same thing. You don't have to discuss again. Now, James is going to say your country, and then the voting delegates gets up and states their votes. Okay, do you want to sit to? Okay, yeah, we're not waiting for the mic now, because that's going to take too long and too much running around, so just yell really loudly. Okay, James, go.
IVSA, James Gallagher, IVSA Exco, IVSA Belgium.
One in favor, one against.
IVSA China.
2 votes against.
IVSA Croatia.
2 votes for.
IVSA Czech Republic.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA Denmark.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA France.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA Germany.
2 votes against.
IVSA Greece.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA India.
2 votes against.
IVSA Indonesia.
2 votes against.
IVSA Ireland.
2 votes against.
IVSA Italy.
2 votes against.
IVSA Latvia.
2 votes against.
IVSA Malaysia.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA Mexico.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA Morocco.
2 votes against.
IVSA Norway.
2 votes against.
IVSA Peru.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA Poland.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA Romania.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA Slovenia.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA South Korea.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA Switzerland.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA Taiwan.
1 in favor, 1 against.
Sorry, could you
Can you
repeat
repeat that,
that?
please?
1 in favor, 1 abstain.
IVSA the Netherlands.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA Tunisia.
2 votes in favor.
IVSA Turkey.
Abstention.
Both.
Yeah.
IVSA USA.
2 votes against.
IVSA Venezuela.
2 votes in favor.
waiting 1 second, so they're counting the votes. There's no reason to speak. You can all remain in silence. Do you have the results?
The results of the vote was 58% in favor.
All right, that means the GA has voted to table this topic. So it is tabled. Then the chair will now entertain a motion to go into recess until the next session of General Assembly. Yaki. Waiting patiently for the microphone. Perfect.
Yaki Wilson's IVSA Belgium, SOE.
Second. Any discussion on going into recess? Any objections?